You know, I really like Darius.
I want some nasty. Are we having fun yet?
Okay, so this is a very interesting prospect, and I don't necessarily know how to convey how I feel about him. So Darius Days. I have to say that this one might be one of the most interesting guys that any team could take on, because honestly, he fits perfect in the NBA, but then there's a few things where I'm like, oh, you have to fix that. But then if you fix that, is that going to hurt this other thing? We'll talk about that in a minute. So first and foremost, as we always do with these prospects, we're going to go into the stats, and then I'll tell you what type of player he is to me. And then we'll look at a pros and cons list in which I'll be just live reacting to it because I haven't seen it. All right, so let's go ahead and go into it. So Darius Days, he averages 13.7 points per game, 7.8 rebounds, 0.9 assists, 43.4 field goal percentage. Now, with a lot of these players, you look at the stats and you say it doesn't tell the full picture, but that's not necessarily the case with Darius Days. Every single thing that you see here kind of tells the full picture, strangely enough. I mean, if we're looking at rebounds, 7.8 rebounds per game, excuse me. And as you can see here, he has games where he put up 12, 10, 11, 13, 18. That just shows that he has a massive motor, which he does. And then when it comes to shooting, some people will say he's not a great shooter, but I will say that he has a really good shooting upside, especially, which I didn't bring up, his size at 245 pounds. He's 6'7", but 245 pounds. We'll get into that a little bit more. But even steal wise, yeah, it shows that he can get deflections. He can help his teammates in that regard. So I think, personally, I think that the stats do tell the whole picture with him. Because when we break down what type of player he is, it's pretty transparent and pretty obvious what type of player he is. But he does have a lot of upside from what I've seen. So overall, I think these are pretty decent stats. You want to kind of look at that free throw percentage when you're talking about what type of upside he really has or truly has with shooting. And it's pretty doggone good, right? At 70%. But yeah, moving on, let's go ahead and talk about what type of player is Darius Days. Now, I'm going to say this, and this might sound crazy, this might sound weird, but it seems as if, I don't know, and this is going to be the first thing that people say, okay? They're going to say, well, he's a little slow when it comes to getting to the rim, that initial step, and that's kind of due to his size. But he's not stupidly athletic. So some people might say, hey, he needs to lose the weight. But honestly, the type of player he is at 245 pounds and 6'7", at least from what I've seen, is he can shoot the outside shot, but he can also utilize his body to get in the paint. He can utilize his body against smaller players, and it makes me question whether or not I would want him to lose any of that size or any of that weight. I'm not completely sure, because if he was a type of player that was more so a slasher and a high flyer, then I would sit back and say, yes, dude, lose the weight, because that's going to be really hard on your joints. But he hasn't really had that type of role. He's been more of a 3&D type player, and he can on occasion utilize that strength and create his own shot, you know, at times. So it's really hard for me to just pinpoint, yes, you need to do this to get better. It's really hard for me to say. Now, I will say this, just talking about some of the cons that I've seen, and like I said, the stats tell the full picture. He's not a good playmaker, like, at all. He's not a great playmaker. He makes quite a few bad decisions at times, and that can result in turnovers. But as far as his ability to dribble, as far as his ability to get into the paint, and definitely his shooting upside, I would say that you work on that and he becomes a pretty doggone good player. So it's a very strange thing where usually I would say a 6'7" and that amount of weight, it's like, you probably need to lose it, especially when we're talking about guys like Lofton and Roddy, and it's like, oh, if you lose that, it makes you so much better. But I don't necessarily see that as Darius Days, because he utilizes his body, he utilizes his size and his strength so well that he's one of those players that does have a lot of versatility being that big. He can play power forward, but he can also probably play center in a small ball lineup in the NBA. So it's just so hard to tell. But I will say this, where he is right now, I definitely think he's a very solid player that could get immediate minutes, or at least immediate attention coming off the bench for an NBA team. So I really like him. I think there's a lot of upside there. One player that he reminded me of, which I think I was a little off on this. This is my initial thoughts, but honestly, if you have one better, please just lay it on me. He kind of reminds me of Kyle Kuzma just a little bit, just his ability to shoot, his ability to kind of utilize his size to his advantage. That's just kind of what I get from him. But obviously, there's other players that would be closer to Kyle Kuzma in this upcoming draft. But that was the first player that came to my mind for him. But I really like him. I really do. But if he just works on that playmaking, I think he could be legitimate. All right. So let's go ahead and look at his pros and cons here. So as I said, I didn't look at this. I just kind of bring it up and then go back to it when it's time to talk. But let's go ahead and look at it. So pros: decent shoot, I agree. Adequate score off the dribble, yes. Can post up small, yes. Excels at scoring on off-ball motion, yeah. Solid rebounder, yes. I would say he's a very good rebounder, actually, especially at 6'7". Decent defender, yeah. Above average athlete. Okay, so usually when they say above average athlete, I agree with this, by the way. When they say above average athlete, that just means that they don't really utilize their athleticism that much. They're not super athletic. They're just, you know, right in the middle, if not tad bit better. I guess that's what above average insinuates. I'm gonna shut up now. Solid motor, yes, very good solid motor. Now here's the con: streaky shooter, which once again, stats tell the full story with them. Moving on, lacks an elite first. Oh yes, he does. And that's just part of like, does he lose the weight? Maybe that'll help his first step a little bit, but I just don't know if I want to jeopardize that ability to back down play. I don't know, man. That's a tough one. Needs to improve his playmaking. Yes. Needs an elite ball handler, or not an elite ball handler. I'm sorry. Can be turnover prone. Can be quite foul prone. Can he? Can he be foul prone? I don't know. That might be kind of an overblown statement right there. I don't know about that. Stats don't tell the story of that. Not an elite athlete, sure. Above average. All right, so Darius Days is a strong mobile forward that can project into a 3&D type of role in the NBA. I agree. He has good size and strength. I agree. That allows him to finish plays in the paint to score. I agree. And he can occasionally knock down some spot up threes. Yeah. He also can get steals and deflection for his teams in team defensively. Sorry. He had a solid junior season. Okay. Wait a minute. Okay, this was updated not too long ago. I don't really understand. Yeah, they're bringing up his junior season. I don't know. But all of this is accurate, so yeah. Anyways, and he shot the ball well, but he will also need to improve his playmaking skills. Right now, he projects to be a second round. And honestly, any team that takes him in the second round, I think it's a good pick. I think it's a really nice, solid pick. I genuinely do like him, and he's a type of build that I think would fit in with a lot of newer school, modern, today NBA teams. I don't know why I put it that way. Just he would fit in the NBA today, okay, in this era or whatever. He's perfect for any team. And honestly, I could legit see him running center in today's NBA, which would be strange at times, but you know, not as a primary thing, but when a team is ready to go small ball. So you guys let me know what you think. I really like him. I really dig him. He seems like a genuine guy too. I watched some interviews, so he seems like a really cool guy. But you guys let me know what you think in the comments. If you want to support the channel, only $2 a month. Patreon, YouTube members, link in the description. Until next time, guys, deuces.